When we have spiritual, experiential, if I may say so, borrow from science, aha moments, that indeed, I was not born from a bunch of chemicals. We have darshan or experience of God the way we have conceived God. So it seems like the way we wish to imagine the absolute, it appears in our personal way. Do you agree? But the absolute is essentially indescribable. It cannot belong to one group of people. It cannot be limited to a region or geography. It cannot be bound by change. And it definitely cannot be the cause of hurting one set of people and uplifting another. Are we in agreement? That absolute, when we went looking, became such a wonderful invitation to connect with everything, anything, and essentially nothing. Are we in agreement? This profound nothingness has led to everythingness. Why nothingness? Because it is beyond our five senses, beyond our mind's comprehension, which allows the speech to utter these words, and yet speech cannot describe, which has gifted the vision to see, perceive, and appreciate every detail, and yet the vision cannot perceive. So that which intrinsically is the essential nature of everything, and yet that which is beyond, that absolute is what we rejoice and becomes an essential aspect of Ayurvedic spirituality and psychology. And therefore Ayurveda as a medical science begins to heal the spiritual dimension of our existence, because it teaches us first and foremost the lesson that we are one. This oneness is what we see everywhere, and so it starts healing within us our own tendencies of separation. And then even within ourselves, we start having a healing and a oneness within our dimensions. Do you agree? And that oneness cannot be seen. And in fact, biology and material sciences are a testimony to the variety of the Creator and the creation, and yet we can now see that surely it is still all one. So Ayurveda was beautifully, first and foremost, a spiritually rehabilitating science. Because many of us, and we have been in clinic for many hours, walk in with this physical symptom, Maji, that mental symptom, but really we are separated from our own essence of well-being and wholeness. Is it not true? Tell me. And especially when we are inflicted with not only compartmentalization within us, where one part of us, the mind, is judging one part of our body, and where a patient says to me, my mind is not happy with my body. I am thin but I look fat. I am fat but I look thin. What is this? Sheer judgment of one part of me over another. Who can help me apart from the knowledge of wholeness, oneness, and unity, consciousness? Similarly, when we start judging the world and separating ourselves, what happens? We become by force isolated bundles of aggrandizement or enslavement, fear or abusive power, and then begins the great saga of a moment-to-moment war with what is essentially my larger self. And this is the theme of my concluding satsang, and I have writings from my teacher. It's a little bit in Hindi with Sanskrit. Raga ka त्याग और द्वेष का को प्रेम में परिवर्तन. This is my teachings from my own teacher. But Baba says in his writings, and I won't read the whole Hindi because I want to conclude in 20 minutes, but he says that when we start Now I'll start with another piece of his writing. He says, every person who has committed a crime, okay? A crime, I'm speaking in terms of hurting another, okay? Inflicting some judgment. You know how we hurt people in our encounters, yeah? And even those unconscious encounters, we are somewhere conscious. Don't you agree? We're kind of feeling very righteous. And we're like really pointing the finger. But somewhere we are egging it on. Egging it on, is that a word? We are instigating it in the name of righteousness and, whatever. But we are committing some kind of, abuse. Or we are literally insulting another. We want somehow, we feel entitled that when I wake up, I should be forgiven. And until that time, I should be allowed to punish another. So, I have entitlement to punish another, but I have entitlement to forgiveness. Please note. I have entitlement, I have right to punish, and I have right to forgiveness. So each person walks around feeling that I deserve forgiveness, but each person is convinced that I have the right to give danda or punishment. Now, who will ever achieve any kind of forgiveness in this atmosphere? Are you understanding? Because what I want to give is different, but what I want to receive is different. But if each one is doing that, then each one of us individually and collectively is only punishing each other and dying deaths for lack of forgiveness, magnanimity, and large-heartedness. Are you noticing that? Shall we take ownership of that? We want that the person we are dealing with should be udarashil, very generous-hearted. They should be kripashil, very kripa. Huh? Grace. They should give us grace. They somehow we get grace from the accommodation. Sweet accommodation. Tyaga. People should sacrifice for us. They should be satyavadi. They should speak the truth to us. And namrata. They should show, even if they have to correct us, come on, you should correct me with soft, gentle words. Couldn't you have said it nicely? Please, can you use nicer words? This is our expectation from the other. However, when we have to correct the other, that time we become a little bit ruthless. And we want that sweet, respectful behavior. But ours become tinged with, there is no sweetness, there is only katuta, pungency. No madhurata, pungency. And there is no oiliness, it's all tikta. That's it, that's the truth. Bitter, don't we say bitter? Sweet truth, huh? So the sweetness has been filled with bitter, dark chocolate. It's not sweet milk, Swiss chocolate. It's all dark chocolate. And you wonder who created this ugly thing. Okay. We were happy with our milk chocolate, full of, 100% calorie milk and butter. Suddenly we were told this is good for us. So we are eating it, but my tongue says I don't like it. No matter how much research you read. No? Do you agree? So in the same way, what happens is, when we get the chance to correct another, we start having all kinds of, non-aligned behavior, we transgress boundaries, we inflict hurt, we raise the finger. Well, all the time when we have done something, we want the other person to be kind. So do we accept that this is what happens? In this case, there are two classic Sanskrit words which I have taught in other satsanga before. Raga, Dvesha. Do you remember that? Raga means attachment and Dvesha means aversion. Because of this classic ignorance of this classic behavior of all us humanity, we develop Raga towards ourselves, poor me, little me, attachment towards this self, this jiva, and Dvesha, aversion towards the other. So all day, every minute, we are actively cultivating Raga towards the self, and Dvesha, aversion towards the other. All right. So the teaching here is that how can we undo this? And why should we learn it? Because this Raga Dvesha feeds such a large amount of negative states in our being. Self-pity, victimhood, I am lonely, no one loves me, all I want is a few sweet words, all I ask for is respect, I don't get, but what am I giving out? And each person becomes, if you can imagine a cartoon, the self-isolated whirling pool of obsessive self-love and very clinical shut-off and almost an incongruence in noticing what we are giving to the other. And we are having only raga, raga, raga. Can you say raga? Raga. It is not a healthy term. It is not healthy. Raga is the kind of self-obsessed self-love that it is not even love. Because if it was true love, in that love, I am okay, you are okay. I am excellent, you are excellent. I am divine, you are divine. I give room for myself to grow and I give room for you to grow. Are you understanding? But in Raga, I'm okay, you're not okay. I deserve forgiveness, not you. I deserve respect, not you. Isn't that how we all behave? And so the job of satsang is to make us look at our own behavior. And we do it all the time. It's our default. But humanity as a society cannot heal from these wounds until we change the raga. So how do we do that? Suppose somebody is doing some injustice to us. Anyaya, injustice to us. Yeah? We often feel injustice has been done to us. Do you agree? Subtle way, speech way, physical way. Some injustice has been done to us. There is somebody who has done injustice to us. If we may have to call 911 for that, we may have to take some action for that, that is true. But at the mental level, if we just think, due to the satsanga teachings here, about this person's adaptive self being ignorant, confused, and we find somehow we replace our violent thoughts with thoughts of compassion. So our job is to bring compassion into that area. Somebody has stolen our wallet. Very outraged. But after a while, we consciously turn the outrage into, this person was born on earth. Do they enjoy stealing wallet? What are their basic compulsions? Oh, they are addicts. Why are they addicts? That means they have no teacher. They have no life. They have not good parenting. Are you understanding? They do not have the abundance of knowledge to understand that they don't need to do this. They slowly become objects of our compassion. when the person becomes the object of our compassion, at that time the Dvesha or the aversion slowly starts dissolving, and due to action of compassion, prema or love of the true nature starts coming even for the person who has done us anyaya or injustice, as Lord Jesus' words resound for humanity. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And that is the highest form of compassion for the very ones who were nailing him alive. Now that is a dramatic representation. May have happened, possibly happened, but we all cannot, go there. But in our day-to-day life, we are being nailed. Do you agree? Yes or no? We feel that. And because we are being nailed, off we go into a mental state of Dvesha, aversion. And it takes away our energy, it sucks away at our sadhana, our spiritual practice, it increases our blood pressure, it compromises our digestion, and we are full of all sorts of, in doshic language, vata pitta prakopa, in psychology language, rajatama increase, and in spiritual language we are full of raga, dvesha, obsessive, unhealthy love towards the self, protecting our little jiva, protecting our little adaptive masked self, feeling self-righteous and indignant. Is that a word? Indignant? I wanted to use it. Indignant. Have I said it correctly? Indignant? Now I have a passive language because I read, but sometimes I have to bring it out, then it becomes active for me. Very indignant. And this is going on. So if we change, so what do we have to cultivate towards the one who is doing injustice towards us? What? Compassion. Not just compassion like, oh, poor you, no, like really deeply, you are hurting. Somebody has emotionally abused you. Somebody has history of abusing you. It's pinching you. But that time I have to say, yeah, it hurts. But instead of going into this abnormal split between that and this, you go into where is that person? Which corner of the universe is that person's consciousness stuck in? And that's where people like us offer Gayatri to them. Similarly, if we know we have done unjust behavior to another, and many times we have, once we take ownership and just ask for forgiveness, okay, and then give ourselves punishment. What kind of punishment? We all like to give the punishment of guilt, shame. That's no punishment. But instead, because guilt and shame is nothing. Attachment outside, aversion inside. It's just reversing it. It's abnormal. Punishment is that I am going to go and do endless hours of seva. Endless hours of, sadhana. I will be silent for 10 hours. I will water not only my plants but the neighbor's plants also. And give yourself something to really demonstrate. Don't just say, I'm sorry, but mean it by putting your whole being into some kind of constructive work. Are you understanding? And if you are married to that person, if you are mother of that person, if you're child of that person, if you're sibling of that person, if you're nephew, niece of that person, you're friend of that, you have contact, perhaps your punishment could be something that makes their life better. Are we understanding? So, when we have had injustice upon us, try not to go into this complete roller coaster of raga, excessive and advanced self-protective love going here, and as a result the opposite of hate going there. And when you have inflicted hurt on another, what will happen is, because inflicting hurt is not the real thing, we'll feel bad, right? Guilt and shame, like Lady Macbeth. She thought she could murder the king, but then she had to wash her hands and finally kill herself. Do you see that? When we hurt another, what happens is, after a while, we have a lot of aversion inside. Do you agree? We hate ourselves. Every act of murder is an act of suicide. So writes my father in a play. But it is true. Every act of murder is an act of suicide. Every act of slander is self-abuse. Do you agree or not? And hence, therefore, instead of going into this self-aversion, hating yourself, separating yourself, going into endless guilt, and ask for forgiveness, become open and transparent, and then give yourself a tapas, a danda, a punishment by literally saying, I will now perform endless years of seva. I was upset with myself for certain things that I have done in my earlier decades of life. Unconsciously, not planned, we often do things and create things and say things which hurt others, neglect others, right? And create hurt in people. And as a result, I had to change my whole life almost as a punishment, but it's what's called as a positive punishment, to make up for that. Are you understanding? Rather than sitting in the self-indulgence of, I'm such a bad person, I think I'll just drink whiskey. Or I'll do drugs. Or I'll just get depressed and I'll let other people, the state take care of me. Or I'll develop such big diseases, And so I wanted to tell you about how we take the aversion and love piece to an extreme, and how it becomes the foundation of ill health. And what we want is a balance, where if you find yourself caught up in a conversation around how much aversion you have with this one person or one group of person, you have to think about their childhood, their exposures, their limitations, their cultural, historical depravities, and the sheer karmic, those of you who believe in karma and etc., their karmic situations of where they are. Those of you who are studying Vivekachudamani very much know what blessings you have. Do you agree? And those of us who are now waking up to take responsibility of the 100 ways in which we hurt another, I must say that every time I feel hurt by someone, I'm very sorry to say that I've planted 100% of the seeds. When I'm hurt by another, somewhere my subtle jiva, you understand, my subtle personality has almost engaged at, I'll never leave these things alone, I have something with my glasses, they fall 10 times a day. My dogs are picking them up for me now. Saki was sleeping like this on it the other day, so I'm saving it for me. So what I mean to say is there is no other. And the more we can bring a balance between this aversion and infatuation, self-obsession and rejection of another, or rejection of the self, and bring a state of consciousness and mindful around it, then we are living a Vedantic perspective of life, and then continuing to exercise discrimination to do what we need to do. If somebody is continuing being emotionally abusive, right, or verbally abusive, right, I'm not saying that you have to worship that person. I'm still saying that you can walk away from that situation. You can even file for a divorce or whatever, physical location change. Or you can say to that friend, we will not be Facebook friends anymore. You can, but that's the only kind of friends we have now, right? So you do that. However, what you don't need is the aversion, Raga, Dvesha cycle. That's the difference I'm trying to tell you. People who are learning the superficial value-based spirituality say compassion is an absolute value and it must be applied at the exclusion of everything. No. Compassion is an absolute value, but there may be certain relative decisions that we have to take based upon a given situation. If a man is beating a wife, the wife has to go to the shelter. Do you agree? Hey, there she can't say, beat me, I will give you compassion. That has no meaning. Do you agree? But in the shelter, when she is safe, now she need not beat her entire life up, chop it apart and waste all its potential by going into the victim mode, the Raga, Dvesha, love, aversion situation. Do you agree? This is what I am trying to say to you. So we have 5-10 minutes. Any questions, comments? It's our last satsang and I hope this helps you. Because we need this for our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual strength, and so it's therefore very important for you to continue to contemplate on this word Raga. Can you say it? Raga. Dvesha. Dvesha. Aversion. And this Raga, Dvesha, I was saying, especially specific to how people behave with us. And how we have also observed earlier in the speaking that the delivering of what I wanted to say, that how we all walk around with this illusion or this presumption that somehow everybody will be kind to us. But when we have to be kind or, polite or follow some protocols, we can give it up. And as a result, we have a world, a community, a society of beggars. Everybody is feeling deprived and everybody is wanting respect. Any comments, questions? How is the satsang been going for you? Yes, Dvesha?
I just wanted to make
Yeah, tell me also how the whole year of satsang changed you.
Oh,
Let me know if this is a worthwhile activity. Come here. You've been given a seva. I wonder if she's having Raga Dvesha about it.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about the example of the battered woman, and it's definitely a part of what I do for work and working with survivors of all different kinds of abuse and trauma. And I really liked what you were saying about, the victim stance of, just having compassion all the time for the abuser. And what I was thinking about was, as we are one, the compassion, that's the time for it to turn inward. And so that's where the compassion lies in moving forward and saying, this is not an appropriate place for me, etc. And so moving on. So that was just the comment I was thinking of. In terms of satsanga, it's been a privilege to be the seva and to hold the space, and it's absolutely transformative. I feel that every time I'm here, it's talking to exactly what I need to hear in that day. And it's like sure you're watching my marriage? I'm wondering. You know, and
I have a webcam in each of your houses.
I know. And so it's just, you know, encourages me to continue that discrimination and looking inward and being present with all the areas of my life and realizing where do I have the Raga, and I say, I need to be talked to this way, and this is how it is, and you know, the aversion of the other and the illusion of compassion. I also
illusion of compassion.
When you know you're in a position to be a teacher, to be corrective, or whatever that may be, to be a parent, and how are we doing that? And is it out of Dvesha? Is it out of aversion that we're correcting, but we think that we're being, you know, compassionate? So I mean that's just an example. So
it really reveals our own mockery, right? It really reveals our own charade, and it really reveals how we actively nurture our adaptive, needy, desiring, hungry, begging self. Whereas we are abundant and full, and the moment we start giving, the paradigm changes. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share about this or the satsang, because it's our last satsang of the year? Swara, please come here. So that's just
okay.
It's so that people can see you.
Yeah. Shema. I was just thinking about all of the tools that we've been, you know, that have been offered at our feet this year, and all the years.
No, that have been offered to your head this
year.
Yeah.
Working there. And
you are sitting at your teacher's feet.
Yeah, it's true.
Good. That shows I'm sitting with openness.
Yeah. But I guess discrimination is what keeps coming to mind, even when you're talking about this self, this aversion and this sort of self.
Raga and Dvesha.
Yeah, especially in the sense that if we can't even discriminate between our jiva and our deeper self, then it's hard to even come to a place to realize that we're doing these things in the first place, that we're practicing Raga and Dvesha. So I'm just grateful and appreciative for that tool of discrimination, to be able to start seeing those things, and I think we probably all are, to be able to even have tiny little moments of stepping out of our these sort of processes that just carry us, these stories that just carry us down these roads that are an illusion. And so I guess really what I want to say is just that how revolutionary this knowledge is, and I hope that it just continues to spread and grow, because this is information that we all need to be hearing all over the world, and this is just so empowering, and is empowering us to change our own paradigm and our paradigm in our communities, and it, you know, going out like so. So I just I guess wanted to offer that reflection.
Yeah, wonderful, because these processes, these mindless processes are not hers or yours or mine. This is our default process as humanity. You know, we were given these wonderful privileges called minds, except that we didn't have the instruction manual. And if you don't have the instruction manual, any equipment can run berserk. Is that a word? Berserk?
Berserk.
Huh?
Berserk.
Berserk. It can run berserk. And what it does, it just generates these whirlwinds of the Sanskrit word called moha. Moha. It's like a delusion. It's like we're feeling this self-isolated person. Each person, if you go stand just at a BART station and look at people, it's a sea of miserable, pathetic, unhappy people, and you realize the stark existential suffering that we are walking around in. And because each person is carrying a load of, oh, how I don't get this and I don't get that, but not looking at what we are giving at all. You know, and especially when we are being ill-treated, or we become too ready to forgive and start preaching and practicing compassion, but it's not real, because sometimes you have to take a strong action, and yet you have to then slowly understand and forgive the one, because they know not what they are doing. They don't have the blessings of wisdom.